You know, in this AI gold rush, all eyes are on the big names, the miners, like NVIDIA and OpenAI. But today, we're going to talk about something different. We're looking at the company that's selling all the shovels. We're going to break down the investment case for a company called Advanced Semiconductor Engineering, or ASE. And honestly, they might just be the most important piece of the AI puzzle you've never even heard of.
So if you're an investor, this is the million-dollar question, right? How do you actually get a piece of this AI revolution? I mean, you could bet on the AI model makers, or maybe the chip designers, the cloud giants, but what if there's another way? A way to bet not on one single gold miner, but on the one company that sells the essential tools to all of them.
This right here is one of the oldest and probably wisest sayings in the world of investing. Instead of gambling on who's going to strike it rich, you just invest in the company that supplies the equipment to everyone digging for gold. Well, in our digital age, the gold is AI, and the picks and shovels, they look a little different. And that brings us right to Advanced Semiconductor Engineering, or ASE. See, they don't design those flashy AI chips you're always hearing about. They do something that's maybe even more critical. They package them. They literally fuse a bunch of smaller components into one single, powerful unit that's strong enough to run the AI models that are changing our world. They are, in short, selling the digital shovels. Okay, so let's dig into the bull case. What is it that gets an investor really excited about ASX? Well, it all comes down to their unbelievable dominance in a field that is absolutely 100% critical for the future of AI.
Just take a look at these numbers. In the world of what's called OSAT, that's basically outsourced semiconductor assembly and testing, ASX isn't just a leader, they are the market. They've got almost 45% of it. That's bigger than their next few competitors combined. That kind of scale, well, that creates a seriously powerful competitive advantage.
Now, the really interesting part is why they're so dominant. And it comes down to this term, advanced packaging. Think of a big AI chip not as one single thing, but more like a dream team of smaller, specialized chips called chiplets. ASX has the magic technology that fuses that team together into one super powerful unit. And without this, the kind of performance you need for modern AI is just flat out impossible. And you can literally see the AI gold rush flowing right into their bank accounts. If you look inside their main high-margin business, check out that computing slice. That's where all the AI data center chips are. In just 1 year, it jumped from 19% of their business all the way to 24%. That explosive growth, that is the heart of the bull thesis right there.
But hold on, it's not quite that simple. This is where the story gets a little complicated. To really get the risks here, you have to understand that ASX is really two totally different companies living under one roof, and frankly, they're pulling in opposite directions.
So on one side, you've got the ATM business. This is the sexy, high-tech, high-margin advanced packaging part we've been talking about, the AI growth engine. But then on the other side, you've got this EMS business. It's a much lower margin, kind of commodity-like operation that makes basic components for consumer electronics. It's bigger, it's slower, and it's way less profitable.
And when I say less profitable, I mean the difference is just staggering. I mean, look at this. At the peak of the last cycle, the high-tech ATM side was pulling in an operating margin of almost 18%. The lower-tech EMS side, under 5%. So the takeaway here for an investor is pretty clear. The bigger, slower business is seriously dragging down the profitability of the high-growth AI star.
And that internal conflict, that's not the only risk. The very things that make ASX a leader also create some pretty big vulnerabilities. So let's talk about the steep price they have to pay to stay on top of the mountain. You know, staying ahead in advanced packaging costs an absolutely staggering amount of money. In 2024 alone, ASMX is planning to spend nearly $1.9 billion on new factories and equipment. That's more than double what they spent the year before. This is a massive, all-in bet on future AI demand. And if that demand stumbles for any reason, this huge investment suddenly becomes a huge liability. So who are they making this massive bet for? Well, a surprisingly small number of customers. In their core ATM business, just 5 clients, 5, make up 43% of all their revenue. This gives those customers immense power over pricing, and, it creates this huge risk if even one of them decides to switch suppliers or cut back on orders. Okay, so beyond the risks inside the company, ASX is also exposed to 2 massive forces that are completely out of its control: the absolutely brutal boom and bust cycle of the semiconductor industry and the,
let's say, precarious geopolitics of its home base.
The semiconductor industry is just famous for its violent cycles. I mean, look at this. In 2022, everything was great, business was booming for ASMX. But then look what happened in 2023. Revenue dropped 13%, and their operating margin got cut almost in half. It just collapsed. That is the painful reality of this industry, and it's a super volatile ride that any investor has to be prepared for.
And that brings us to what might be the single biggest risk of all. It's a risk so large, so fundamental, that it really underpins every other calculation an investor has to make when they're looking at this company.
The vast majority of ASIC's most advanced, most critical, and most profitable manufacturing facilities, they're located in Taiwan. This puts the company right at the epicenter of global geopolitical tensions. It's a low probability maybe, but an exceptionally high impact risk that you simply cannot ignore.
All right, so let's put it all together now. We've seen the really powerful bull case, and we've seen the very, very serious bear case. So how does an investor weigh these competing forces to come to some kind of final verdict?
So here it is. This is the core dilemma. On one hand, the bull case is beautifully simple. You're buying the dominant picks and shovels company for the entire AI revolution. Can't beat it. But the bear case is just as stark. You're exposing yourself to brutal industry cycles, massive spending, heavy reliance on just a few customers, and of course, profound geopolitical risk.
So what does this all mean for you, the investor? Well, an investment in ASA is a direct, leveraged bet on the AI megatrend, period. But it is definitely not for the faint of heart. It requires a really high tolerance for volatility and a deep, deep belief that the management team can flawlessly execute on these multi-billion-dollar projects. And above all, that geopolitical risk has to be understood and it has to be accepted.
And that leaves us with the final question, the one you have to answer for yourself. You have the undisputed leader, providing absolutely essential tools for one of the biggest technological shifts in human history. But it comes with that heavy price of volatility, massive capital spending, and geopolitical uncertainty. So as an investor, the ultimate decision is yours. Is the potential AI reward worth the very real risk?